Hey, I'm so glad you could join us. It is Unleashing Kingdom Voices. This episode is brought to you by Millionaire Momentum. 3 keys to momentum: save money, grow yourself, and build wealth and impact. There's a 3-minute video I'd love you to see. It's in the show notes of this episode. So I'll tell you what, this is going to be a fun one. Who knows what's going to happen? My guest is a neurocycle facilitator under Dr. Carolyn Leaf. She's an amazing author. She is a business coach. It may not be on the Instagram. And she is a speaker. So will you please help? And I got to say one other thing she's really good at. She's a good launder, because I had a real bad tomato sauce on this shirt. She got it out. So you please help me welcome my dear friend, Elana Van Deventer.
I'm so glad I managed to get a stain out of your shirt, because I'm still struggling to get a stain out of my shirt. Well, where is it? I don't know. You can see it.
Yeah, you're like, are you sure, T? I'm like, it's a miracle. I don't think I've worn it since I had it with you either. It's like, look at that. That's a miracle. It's my favorite shirt too, by the way. Elana, so glad to have you here. My goodness, it's been a while to get you on here, but I think it's worth the wait. So, y'all, you know Dr. Carolyn Leaf. Well, Elana's got amazing success with the Neurocycle facilitator. But I think, Elana, we got to go to the story. The story tells the journey. And I think, when you tell your story, I think it gives hope to so many. So this is what I always say, Elana. I say, go back to your childhood. What did you like to do when you played? And then I'm like, well, some people have problems. You had a brain injury. And now here you are, a brain surgeon. I mean, not literally. Yeah. So take us back a little, and I may interrupt you because I'm so excited to hear this story. I've heard it, but I want to hear some more.
Isn't that how amazing God is? Those areas that we once felt disqualified, and that He goes in those landmines and He restores, and He makes it landmarks. So it's like you said, I had a childhood brain injury. I had to learn to walk and talk at a young age again. Wow. And that just stuck with me. That really just became my limit, and what I'm supposed to, or not just supposed to, what I'm allowed to. I think that's a better description of the limit that I placed on myself. What am I allowed to do? Wow. What am I allowed to dream and want for my own life? And so that happened at a young age, and I was labeled stupid in school. And I remember, and it's just, again, God, it just blows my mind. The fact that I'm able to speak in front of people is just again how He's able to renew what was not lost, but because that's a worldly view, but He's able to renew and to rewire and restore and revive more than anything else. He's able to revive from the inside out. The fact that I'm able to speak in front of people where before
and English is your second language.
English is my second language.
You can speak in front of crowds and in front of you as a speaker, and then one-to-one. That's I just fascinated by that. I think the very first time I met you, Jessica Shakur was doing this Yes Lord Collective, and this is how God just connects people. And that was January, probably about a year ago, and they had all these speakers, and Elana came on, and instantly she captured my heart. So it wasn't until I just followed her. You know how we do on Instagram. And then I won a contest, and I got to have 1 hour one-to-one. It was like after she was over, it's like, whatever you have, give it to me. So she goes, she's in Canada. She does have in person, but look, what does God do, man? That's so cool. God, so now you had a teacher that really slammed you in fifth grade? Tell us about that.
It was now I go back into, I don't know if US also had standards prior to grades. Did you have that?
I don't remember. It's too long ago.
So South Africa, born and raised South Africa, and immigrated to Canada over 6 years ago. We had, back in the days, we used to, I don't know anyone else that remember the days, we were standard 1, standard 2. So I always have to think of, I almost had to do that whole thing in my mind, but it was grade 8. And I remember I was struggling. I was struggling, and that's what I absolutely despise labeling because labeling is disabling. It also
Mm.
removes hope.
Wow.
And I remember I was struggling with maths, and he labeled me as stupid and I will never
Oh.
get anywhere in
Mm.
life. And that
Oh.
was his words. And I took it on as, and it's not even, I have no resentment towards him or feel that he was just basically affirming what I already believed about myself.
Dear.
Because again, our life heads in the direction of our most dominant thoughts, and we will always receive evidence of what we believe as truth.
Wow.
So he was just giving me evidence of what I've already believed about myself.
Oh my. Excuse me, but please take out a notebook, or if you're listening to the podcast, you might have to stop. Just telling you, every time she talks, I'm like, where's my computer? I record her so I can record, so I can get her notes down. So you always say evidence of what you believe
Yes.
determines your
So
thoughts.
we will always receive evidence of what we believe as truth. Our life heads in the direction of our most dominant thoughts.
Wow.
My most dominant thoughts was after 40 years, I was able to rewire and renew my mind. But it was, I'm not enough.
Yeah.
I'm not capable. And this one hit hard. I'm not deserving.
Oh, geez.
And so
So
that I had evidence of for 40 years of my life.
wow, you tried. You were very earnest to try and create things and do things, but it wasn't until the neurocycle program. It's kind of like fit you like a glove. But before you had that glove, you had some really. What happened? You were in South Africa still, and you just got like a modeling signed up, and then what happened?
Yeah, so there's a gap between like I grew up, I didn't go and study. There wasn't one of I was not capable. So I
Oh
think
well,
that I'm not even gonna apply for anything. Financially, we also couldn't afford it.
right.
So I didn't go study. I had an eating disorder.
Hmm.
I ended up, I was always I remember growing up, I just want to backtrack a little bit because
Sure.
there's something else that we can do for each other as well. That's very honoring. We always, there's a real focus regarding external. And so when we
Yeah.
comment someone, it would be, oh, you look beautiful, T. Look at you. And what, what happens is, we can't be serious.
You know.
There's so much freedom and joy. Happiness is so freeing. So good for our brains. A joyful noise.
Yes.
But what happens is I grew up and I remember we were introduced as I'm one of three girls. Okay. We were introduced as the clever one. That was my older sister. And I was the pretty one. And then my younger sister, she was just the crazy one. And she would just always speak her mouth.
Oh wow.
Not speak her mouth, speak her mind. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yes. And so we were introduced like that. And for me, my identity was shaped by an external validation. So I was always searching for that compliment because if I had it, then I felt enough. If I didn't, I went back to that belief that I'm not enough. And so I was always striving, always searching, and always feeling lost and this disconnect. And so at the end of the day, striving very hard, working my way in, I got signed as a model, and I thought, this is my purpose. This is what I was made for.
You've arrived.
I've arrived.
Yes.
I've arrived.
Yes.
And I did not. I've never felt so lost than what I did at this time. Now, what happened after that? There was beautiful events that you got invited to, constant striving and hustling to be seen and validated. And oh man, you look look at these photos. You look stunning. You look beautiful. Again, based on the external.
Right.
And so what happened is when we immigrated from South Africa to Canada, that was all gone.
Oh wow.
And all of a sudden, I was in this small town, which I still question why people would stay there, because it's one in the middle of Winnipeg and Thunder Bay. It's extremely cold.
Cold.
We arrive in winter, -50.
Wow.
I've never realized that vitamin D is so necessary in one's life,
Yeah.
and what I did when I lived there. And so we arrived, and everything that I felt was what I was made for, and my identity was stripped away. And to the extent where I felt like I've got nothing left. Unseen, unheard, unloved, and forgotten.
And freezing to death. I've traveled 1 week in college where you had to plug your cars in to keep them. And I like 1 week, and I'm like, I've never been back. It's just too cold. Right around where you were. I thought about that recently. I'm like, oh, I couldn't wait to get back home. So
Yeah.
when you were doing the modeling, is that where some of the eating disorder happened, or was it just a continuation?
It was actually prior. It
Okay.
was prior to that event. I was constantly comparing myself to others. And if you have a belief that I'm not enough, then you will never measure up.
Phew, that hits home. Okay. So
It will never measure up. So I was at my skinniest, and I wanted to be skinnier, because according to me, I was not enough. So I ended up eating disorder. Also, something that I realized when I done my own neurocycle is that these beliefs were even showing up in my relationships.
Oh, really?
And my friendships.
Wow.
I almost rejected people before they could reject me, because one, I was not enough.
Okay.
And also I was not deserving of anything.
Wow. Can I interject there? Because I was chubby when I was little. And so I was, and then I moved a lot. But I'll never forget my junior year in college. I finally found some Christian friends. And I remember pulling up to the dorm to go hang out with them. And I'm like, they like me. Even though I'm chubby, they like me. So that kind of not enough, it can play really havoc in relationships, good or bad.
It will, because you will receive evidence of it.
Yeah.
And so I remember if I think back of some of my past relationships, I was always the one being dropped.
Oh, wow. That's tough, man.
I was the one that, again, just receiving evidence of that. I'm not enough, so he's leaving. And it's almost like you manifesting it in a way as well.
I was going to say, you kind of, after you start feeling like you're not enough, you start manifesting characteristics where the person that you maybe like or love, and all of a sudden they're like, whoa, it's like an energy. Like, oh, there's some bad energy coming from there. I don't usually talk about energy, but that's the first thing I thought.
Me neither, but it is. It's really what it is, because that thought creates your behaviors. So the energy, I think what you're referring to is how you behave.
Okay.
Because that influence your environments.
Sure.
So if you have that thought, your thoughts create your emotions. So how you are feeling, which is a beautiful messenger. I know now it's a valuable guide messenger to address the behind, the because, the why, which is your thought. But you will then, your emotions, if you don't take your thoughts captive, you will behave, because it's from your emotions. Emotions are in our bodies for 60 to 90 seconds. If you stay in that, you're actually choosing to stay in it. So behavior will show up because it's driven by emotions, and then you basically just affirming your thought. So it's like a cycle. And the energy which you're referring to is we have actually mirror neurons. So when we treat ourselves in a certain way, we actually teach others and show others how to treat us.
Wow, that's good. I never thought of it that way. So then your neurons and your stuff came to cold Canada. What happened there?
So what happened is it was just a downward spiral. Daryl my husband was always working. We obviously, I was a mom, stay-at-home mom at that stage. And he was at the mine. He's a mining engineer. And so new country, he's finding his feet. He's also trying to figure out how things work. And he worked a lot, and I was alone in the house, cleaning. All of a sudden I had to clean. So another thing that South Africans are not used to, and what we are so blessed, is that we have people working in our houses. We have people working in our gardens. And so I had someone, I still love her and I speak to her as much as possible. I had someone in the house that helped me to raise my kids. And also she did all the cleaning, she did all the washing. And they became family. Our gardener and domestic girl in the house became family for us and our support system. And so I was removed from having someone with me in the house, but not just that, I went from feeling seen and valued and worthy and all that to now cleaning toilets.
Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah. Because some people are happy just to be a mom, but it's like some people, they're blessed to be a mom, but they know there's more in them. So I hate if I offend in you, I'm sorry.
I love that you're saying that, because I was exactly where someone might be now.
Okay.
What I realized is, because I can remember saying to myself, you are just a mom. You are just cleaning the house. You are just, and that word was really overgeneralization on my side. Yeah. And what happened is, when I started my own healing journey, I realized that we have this belief that was created that we have one purpose. And if we miss it, it's gone.
Right.
And so it's like you have one opportunity. And I felt like, remember before, I felt like that was my purpose. Yes, it might seem stupid, but for me, it was like my identity was linked in it. So I want to just say this, for someone that is a mom and feels like, I'm made for more, but I'm just a mom. I also don't like that saying that you are made for more, because it feeds into that belief that I'm not enough.
Yeah.
But I also want to say that nothing can infiltrate, impact, diminish your enoughness. Because of Jesus, it's done. It's not something that you have to strive for, work for, to earn, to deserve. Because of Jesus, it's done. It's your inheritance that you get to choose to live from daily, knowing that it's done. So your purpose, our purpose, is not, besides loving God and loving others, that's our main purpose.
Wow.
The vocational, our calling looks different.
Sure.
So what I realized when I was just a mom, that was my purpose in that season. It changed. But in that season, it was my purpose.
That's
and I look back now when I can see the value and how I was able to serve my kids. I see it now, but when I was in it, I was struggling with mental health issues and depression, and I was silenced by guilt and shame, because for me, I believe you can't love God and still struggle.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't ask for help, because that was just an indication that I'm not believing enough. I don't have enough faith.
Jeez. You know about just a mom? I remember I retired after 13 and a half years as a radio announcer, and it was devastating. I'm like, I'm just a mom. But that, I mean, it was like, I knew there was more, but I'm just a mom. And I remember chiding myself saying, Theresa, now being a mom is you need to now pay attention to your kids. What did I do? I went off into marketing and didn't pay attention. But you're right. I like how you said that. It is a period, and I know your kids, they're amazing kids. So at that period, they needed a mom presence, but it wasn't the end of your journey.
And that changes. Like, if you think of purpose and calling, it's two different things. Our purpose is to love God and love others. Our calling is the vehicle, and it's seasons, and so the how it looks like will change as well. And God knows where we need it. Where we need it the most. And so I now, after all these years, can see how being a mom in that season was the biggest blessing and the area I could serve and where it was most needed.
Wow. That's cool to be able to look back and really, okay. So what was the drive in you, though? You always had but you're stuck in a cold place that you can barely move. So, and you still knew you had stuff in you, but what was that like? I mean, I know how cold and lifeless, even just living in a cold, lifeless place. I heard someone on a podcast say, I choose to live in San Diego because I know it's sunny. So I'm going to choose. I'm thinking, well, good for you. You know, but some of us don't get to choose like that. So you didn't have any choice.
I didn't have any choice, but I know now when I look back, I knew that that is where I was supposed to be planted.
Wow.
Because I had to go through a process of being removed and
Okay.
being, my roots were not where it was supposed to be.
Wow.
And so when I always refer to it as my unearthing,
Yeah.
God almost unearthed me, if I can create this vision or visual behind it. God had to unearth me and plant me back in the soil where it felt dark. I was back in the soil,
Okay.
and where I was removed from all the
Just the
all the
trappings of,
noise.
yeah,
Yes, all the
modeling and
noise and the
culture.
external.
Yeah. And he had to literally put you in the dark, lonely place. You now can say that was your unearthing, but maybe someone's listening and saying, I am in the darkest of place right now.
Mm.
I don't know what's up from down. So, you know, testimony in Hebrew means do it again. So continue with your journey because it's a powerful one.
I see them. I see them because I was there, and I know it is a very, very. You feel. I think there's two things that happens. There is a disconnect that happens, and an isolation, and
Mm.
it is a dark place, and it feels like there's no hope.
Mm.
What also happens is we look at the psychology of the installment. When we look at the psychology of the installment of hope,
Okay.
there's something that happens when we suffer with mental, like maybe it's anxiety or depression. For me, it was depression, and it was to the end where I was almost end my own life, like I was
Yeah.
suicidal. And
Yeah.
what happens when we in this dark place? They've done a study on kamikaze pilots, and
Yeah.
they were wondering why did some of them follow through with the mission and those that didn't? What was the difference?
Mm.
And there was one thing that stood out that happened why they didn't follow through was there was an action of them lifting their heads
Wow.
for a moment.
Wow.
That is the installment of
Mm.
hope. So what happens when we suffer with mental issues and depression? Our heads are down.
Yes.
We are ruminating. It's over and over, and that's the kamikaze pilots as well. As they focus on their missions, their heads are down. They're focusing on the target, and
Wow.
they're trying to say these things over and over and over
Whoa.
to themselves. But those that didn't follow through lifted their heads.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, they realize that there's a tomorrow, and there's something bigger than themselves, and
Mm.
that their lives is worth living.
Wow. That's so powerful. I can think of my times of depression, and I gotta admit, my head was always down, or someone would say, you know, straighten up, Theresa. You know, I'm thinking, well, don't tell me to straighten up. You know, I'm just lost in the depression and the anxiety. And, you know, there was a period of time where I felt like every time I got up, I felt like I had a monkey on my back. And I mean, we're saying, we know, if you're listening live or recorded, we're saying we understand that feeling. But just that simple act, maybe your journey is going to lift your head in the morning and just, you know, go through the process of healing. But why don't you start with one thing, and that's lifting your head?
Just lifting your head and choosing. I remember the day where I planned to take my own life, where I was sitting on the ground, and there
Okay.
was a moment of total surrender where I was like, this is done. I'm done.
Okay.
Done. And I remember, and only now that I've been through my own healing process, those things stands out to me. It becomes, there's some meaning that I've seen,
Yes.
and those little moments where there was actually these hope pockets and things that happened. Because that moment, when I was like, God, if you really exist, then I need you now more than ever. And I know now that when that moment where I just fell back my head, because there was a couch, the bed, so it was actually my bedroom. When I fell back, remember exactly the scene. I was sitting on the floor and I fell back, just like, I'm done. And in that moment, when you fall back, your head just lifts.
Wow.
And I can't say that it was a light bulb moment and all of a sudden I was skipping out of the room and I was like, life is a joy. That did not happen. It was a journey.
Yeah.
And what happens when we actually allow ourselves to feel? Feeling is healing.
Amen.
And when Jesus had all these, I actually want to look for this. I saw this quote during the week and I was like, this is so powerful, because Jesus showed us all these emotions.
Yes.
But there's something that happened. I know I grew up with this belief that emotions are bad. And if you showed positive emotions, then you were full of yourself.
Yeah.
We always had to suppress and keep it in. And what happens is it causes emotional congestion.
Yes.
And that leads to minor and major illnesses because it needs to come out. So if we allow our emotions to guide us and become these valuable messengers, which God intended it for, we can actually, there's nothing that can't be healed if we use our minds the way that God intended it us.
Come on.
Use it. So when we allow ourselves to use that valuable guides that's within us, able to heal from the root.
So good.
We get to the because why we're feeling away and why we're behaving away. And so we're able then to renew our minds. But I had to decide, I had to make a choice. Everything is a choice.
Right.
Everything is a choice.
So
and for me, it was just choosing daily just to wake up.
You were in that iceberg and all of a sudden some area code came across your mind. Tell us about that.
Yes. So while it was actually during COVID was where my healing started.
Wow.
So
praise God.
It was remember, isolation was also a big thing there. Sure. And I really, here's what happens. And I actually just shared on social media, the light in the Lord. And that was one thing that I was choosing to do lately. One thing I was looking for things that I can be grateful for.
Wow.
When I say I was choosing to look for things to be grateful for. When we, one of the things, another one is rejoice. When we rejoice, despite the circumstances. Now, when I say things there wasn't external evidence of things, because it was still the same, right? I still felt I was still in the same situation. I still stayed in the same town, still in the same house. Daryl was still working. I was still with the kids. Everything stayed the same. But when we rejoice, despite the circumstances, our brain secretes neurotransmitters that help us cope.
No.
So if you ask me what is something that someone can start doing now, it's choosing to rejoice. I was just putting on worship music and dancing my butt cheeks off. Rejoicing in the Lord, despite the circumstances.
It's the war fighter. Let's dance on some fire is what Elana's probably thinking back then.
The second thing was I was choosing. And again, the word choice is so powerful because that's our mind in action. We think, we feel, and we choose.
Yeah.
And I was choosing to look for things to be grateful for.
Wow.
And the third thing I did was I was plugging into the vine. I love the vine dresser.
Yeah.
I was plugging into the vine daily. And in that season, in COVID, during COVID, God gave me a vision. And the vision, I still have it. I printed it out. It meant nothing to me in the moment. I was just like, okay, let's just hold on to this. This is a promise. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but I know who knows what this means. And so I printed it out. It was a tree. And the tree had the roots.
Interesting.
A brain.
Unbelievable.
And I printed it out. I had no idea what it meant in that season, but I was holding on to it.
Unbelievable.
And what happened is I eventually created the Revive method because I felt like that's what happened in my life.
Okay.
It was a revival from the inside out. It was like I flatlined in my own life.
Okay.
And God stepped in that moment of surrender. He revived me.
Okay.
And who knows, when your heart's been, there's a journey of healing that happens after that.
Yeah.
And so I started the Revive method because I knew that God is the way. And
Wow.
I was just acting out of obedience.
Sure.
I didn't know. I always say, when I started the Revive method, and this is for someone,
Okay.
when I started the first week, I only had the first week planned. It was a 6-week program.
It's a way to do it, actually.
Because we often build something for ourselves and not for people's needs.
Yeah.
And so I only had that was real obedience and by faith.
No doubt.
So I had people signed up.
That's great.
But I only had the first week planned out.
It's okay.
And some people will think that is crazy, but I tell you, when you let God,
yes,
you step away from self and you let God, more of Him, less of yourself, you create a totally different program.
Because you can know what they get on that first one, then you can like, okay, I'm going to meet their needs instead of wasting all your time building this course. I've been there with my academy courses. Then this is great. This is why it's not mine, because you did it for yourself, silly. Why don't you just do one chapter and then see what they need?
Yes,
actually, your marketing brilliance that was deposited in you is actually starting to flourish even back then.
It was back then, but I didn't see it, right? It's again, God allowed me to see the first step because He knew if He shows me more, I would be like, there's no way, because already there was resistance and everything was on a highlight reel of what could go wrong. Why should I do that? This is a bad idea. You're going to die. You're going to die. It felt like I'm going to die. And every time we put ourselves out there, this is a natural, normal human response.
I love that one.
We just don't have evidence that what we about to step into is new. So we just understand we don't have any evidence that we can survive this because we are designed, our brain and our mind is designed to keep us safe.
Amen.
But it can't differentiate between life-threatening and just newness, unfamiliar. So it might feel in your body that you are about to die, but it's just because you don't have evidence yet.
Yeah.
And so that is when I don't want to be fearless.
Right. Fear can kind of tell us how fear can actually help us. By the way, there have been so many times when I'm doing something and in Elana's voice, "You're not going to die," rings. That is a good motto.
I always say, get the reps in. Get the reps in. When what happens every time we do something that is one, you've never done it. You feel called to do it, but you haven't done it yet.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm speaking here from my own journey as well.
Yeah.
You will have a highlight reel and resistance expected.
Yeah.
Because like I said, what happens internally, just on a scan, you don't have evidence that you can survive this new thing, this new possibility.
So
unfamiliar. But what happens when you get the rep in, now you've done it, you've got free feedback, you've done it, you've got a rep in, but most importantly, you've actually built that evidence into your brain that you can survive this. Now all of a sudden it feels less life-threatening.
And you can let fear help you. I know my coach, Jen Gottlieb, always talking about fear the way you do. Hey, I've decided to put fear in the front seat with me. Tell us about that good reasons of the right kind of fear. Can I say it that way?
Yes. Fear is when I shifted my perspective regarding fear.
Okay.
It became my best friend. Wow. It became that hug.
Jeez, that's so radical.
Fear became, I care for you.
Wow.
It didn't become, you shouldn't do it anymore.
Hold on, you got to say that again. I mean, there are people who fear, the minute they say fear, oh, I got to be fearless, and they get all these, triggers. But listen to you guys. Listen to her talk about the way if fear was not, I mean, fear is part of living life. It's part of the resistance. But tell them again how fear cares for you.
I'm going to go back there now. I use fear as my guide, and it became my best friend, because if it's not present, then I'm busy doing a to-do list.
Oh, interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that's true. I mean, it's another way of saying that. Okay.
So fear, the way what changed fear for me, because I also had the t-shirt, I also had the journal, Be Fearless.
Fearless.
I'm still waiting for that day.
Oh,
what happened is when I shifted my perspective regarding that feeling, that emotion, which I labeled as fear, it became something completely different. It became my companion. It became my guide. It became caring.
Wow.
Fear is caring. I just want to keep you safe.
Wow. Someone needed that. I needed to hear that again. Wow.
It's an incredible guide that we can use. And then when we start building, it's that competence confidence loop. When we go out and we do something, I remember, and I think I told you this numerous times, I remember doing my first speaking engagement, and I swear people could hear my knees knocking. I was so scared.
Yeah.
But it was because in my body, it's like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Because I remember I have a core memory of standing up in class in grade, now I have to do the sums again, grade 3.
Oh, wow.
And one I had to read in English. Now, if you know my background, I come from a very small town. We only speak English and use English for self-defense, which was not really needed at that stage.
Okay.
And so English was not something that I really spoke. So I had to stand up, and I remember I lost control of my body. Like I literally had my face shaking. I could not control my breathing. I sounded like I could not speak. I ended up pronouncing snout as snot.
Oh, bless you. I'm not laughing.
I'm laughing because it's so fun.
Oh my God.
And then to now speak in front of people.
Yeah.
I did it with that feeling present. And now when I do feel it, every time I say yes and I run in obedience and I have these opportunities to speak, I see it as excitement.
Yeah. I saw on video one time when you were speaking, and it was so powerful. I mean, and you can speak and share your emotions to represent where you're at, and it just connects the audience. And you said one line that I just resonated with, but I think I'll pass on saying it. It's one thing we both have in common.
We have to say, we do things. We are not just another podcast.
Yeah, still on our mental lives. Oh gosh, and we're not.
What did I say?
I'll say it. Her husband's alive and mine's not. I want to take him out. I know he didn't die because of me.
Oh yes,
that was way years ago. And when Elana shared that story, I'm like, okay, that's just yet another thing we have in common.
That was in the season of when I was in that dark soil.
Yeah, and it was nice, dark. So I'm just saying, I can. It just was nice to have. Oh, you thought that too. I'm laughing at healing. Please hear me say that. You shared that in that preaching and I just about fell out of I think I was driving, about had to pull over because I was laughing so hard. And she's like, and there's evidence. That's my husband in the back.
He's alive and I'm not in jail. For those of you that don't know the story, I think we should go there.
Go ahead, you tell. So it's your
story. When I felt removed, unworthy, unloved, unseen, all of the wonderful emotions that I felt during the season when I was suffering from depression, I wanted to kill my husband. And when I say I wanted to kill him, I'm not just saying it because I felt like it, but I actually had it all planned out. And because I felt he is the reason why I'm not where I thought I would be by now in my
Oh, bless
life. And
you.
so if I remove him, because I tried divorcing him and the bloody man didn't want to do it. So I was like, no, I'm just going to get rid of you.
I can see your husband. No, it's not going to happen, girl.
My 6'6" husband, 6'6"
Yeah, he's
full husband. The only way I could do it is while he's sleeping. Otherwise, I mean, there's an unfair advantage there.
Now, someone's going to relate to that, okay? So they're like, hey, I can relate to that. But the beauty, we're not against the covenant of marriage. We're not against men. But go on, because the beauty of from that point to your beautiful marriage now, it's just like, it's almost like you had to go through the wilderness.
He's still alive. That's the beauty of it.
He's alive.
He survived. I never ended up doing it because God stepped in, knowing the plans He's got for us. And so,
but that's, Elana, I think is, we're laughing about it, but I think it's so good that you're that vulnerable, because you know the pathway, and now you're teaching the pathway to healing. And can I just say this? Someone in counseling might really hate me. Counseling sometimes doesn't get you to that side. Sometimes you can go to years of counseling because you got to deal with the neurons and your neuroplasticity. I know I went to counseling after Dave died, and it was like, oh, it's okay, and she's ready to release me, and I'm sitting here flailing, not knowing I'm really flailing, until I met Elana and all of us, and I did the app, Dr. Carolyn Leaf's app. I'm still doing the app. That's like, oh, I get to change the way I look at things. I get help. Believe me, the first few episodes with Elana on Zoom, she was like, whoa. I mean, she was trying to unwrap all this drama, and I probably was flailing all over the place. Sometimes I still do, but I digress. But anyways, I just had to say that, because look, you didn't go through marriage counseling. You didn't go through all this counseling. You got elected to do one of the most amazing things, and that's Neurocycle and helping people.
It's again, the Holy Spirit guides us.
Yes.
But we also have to be in tune to hear Him.
Okay.
I remember I always share this because I just want to be completely honest and transparent, that everyone in South Africa knows about Dr. Carolyn Leaf. Like, she's a household name.
Right.
I've never read any of her books until I went for the training, but I've never read any of her books.
Amazing.
I was totally unaware of the work she's doing.
Okay.
And I just want to say her marketing team is absolutely incredible, because someone that is very doesn't even, I don't think I was even subscribed, so I'm not sure how it all happens. Happened. Maybe my husband did. He was like, she needs this.
Do you wonder if he did something? Because what did you get in the mail?
I got the email that said that she's opening up training.
Okay.
And I was like, this is weird. Why would I be getting this? And I should still ask my husband. Maybe
I would love to know. No, you don't have to know.
I would probably.
It's still a great story.
But what happened is I received this email and I was like, no, I was still operating. Remember from that, like, what also happened during the revive is there was a beautiful gift that came out of the revive.
Okay.
I noticed that there's still a gap between where they are and where they wanted to be.
Okay.
And in the revive method, we had affirmations, we had prayer, we had prophetic word, we had all of it.
Yeah.
Breathing, we had visualization, all of it in one container. But the beautiful gift that came out of the revive method is that I could identify that there's still a gap. Not just for myself as well. Why do we sit in rooms with the door open? Why are we in a mind prison if we know that we can simply choose to step out?
Wow.
And so that awareness was already there. And so I received this email, I deleted it, and not 2 days later, one day, received another email, and I was like, I'm not qualified, capable, or deserving of even applying. But I ended up, the Holy Spirit really put it on my heart, and I put it on the site, those open tabs. It was one of the open tabs forever.
Yeah.
A couple of days later, it's still there, and I felt like this prompting to apply.
Okay.
And I ended up doing it. Long story short, I got approved.
So good.
And I remember the day I walked into that room, and there was therapists and people that is way more qualified than Elana from the small town in South Africa, my past, way more qualified. I didn't even go to study anything.
Wow.
I walked in there. I did do pre-studies in the meanwhile, but it wasn't, I didn't go to university. And so I was measuring myself.
Yeah.
These people, I'm not enough, so I'm not measuring up. And I walked into there, and I had a nitrogen coffee the morning. I've never had a nitrogen coffee. I could not, it was either the coffee or just the nerves, but I literally bounced into that room. And I walked in there, and I was just like, what am I doing?
Oh, gosh, bless you. Yeah.
I remember speaking to Mac, Dr. Leaf's husband, and I was sweating. And then they asked us to introduce ourselves. I didn't even know what I said.
Oh, dear.
I still don't know what I said. I threw up for a minute, and I ended up, it was the first thing that I won. Helped me to heal myself, helped me to transform myself, and also that I saw through. I started something and I finished it, because I also had a belief that I'm a quitter.
Wow.
And it was the first thing that I managed to see through. And I received my healing from a deep, deep root. I found my origin story, which blew my mind. That belief that I'm not enough was not even linked to the brain injury that I had at a young age. But it was actually something that happened that was related to my father. My dad is still my hero up to this day. But my dad had to leave for training. And that moment that he left as a 3-year-old, I took it as, I'm not enough for him to stay.
Oh, geez, that's so deep.
That was my origin story. But for years, I thought that the brain injury was
It wasn't.
Where I started. No, it was my dad. And then I was able, through my journey of healing that, seeing it, that he never left because of me. He left because he wanted a better future for us.
Wow, that's powerful. Wow.
But I didn't know it until I actually were able to go through this very, very deliberate mind management, able to go into my non-conscious mind, and was able to see the roots and the origin story and all the embedded memories. And I was able to deconstruct it on a deep, deep level and heal that, and then reconceptualize and stabilize and grow this new belief, which I'm now receiving evidence of.
Yeah. So you, in the process of metacogging and stuff, was it like one day it hit you, or was it like a series of days? Like, wait a minute, this is leading me somewhere.
It was and that's what is so powerful when we stick to the cycle itself of 63 days. We create an automated habit. Not in 21 days, but 63 days.
Yes, thank you.
I found some of my origin story. It was a journey. And what's beautiful is the app leads you on this journey, and you're able to go deeper. And what we are trained as neurocycle facilitators is we help you to get to the deeper.
No doubt.
And also to deconstruct on a deeper level, and also reconceptualize, especially some days that we can feel stuck. Like, healing is almost like a wound. See your wound, and see the stitching. When you do stitching on a wound, there's like a up and a down.
Are you saying a wound?
Like a wound, yeah. I'm down. You know me and my very random
Well, no, I love it. I just have to make sure you're saying wound and not womb.
No, not womb, wound.
Sorry,
Wound.
guys, you just gotta deal with me interrupting her all the
My
time.
accent. My accent is a little bit
I
different.
love your accent. Serious.
So a wound. So you healing that wound. And
Okay.
healing is not linear. It's not standard. And
Yeah,
that's why the one
thank you.
size fits all approach
Yeah,
is so
so
not
good.
working.
Yeah.
And it's like ups and downs. And so when we are down, we almost feel like we're hopeless and
Yeah.
we feel lost. And so
Right.
the beauty of being a neurocycle facilitator, I can help you see that the down is needed for the up.
Mm-hmm.
Stitching that
Yeah.
needs to happen, and we're able to see it for what it is. And then also the Holy Spirit, these we are able to utilize the guidance from the Holy Spirit the
Thank
way we are able to
able to.
question the questions
Yeah.
we ask ourselves, the way we are able to manage our minds. It's just a beautiful journey that helped me, and that's why I believe in it so much.
Yeah.
I've walked it, and that's why I talk it
And
and
you
I
teach
live it.
and you live it. I like how you bring the Holy Spirit in because you could get real science. I mean, there's a definite science to this. But I gotta say something, I tried the Neurocycle app in 2021, maybe because I had the trauma still alive, but I couldn't understand what she was saying. And maybe it was just a block because I was in the midst of the cacophony. And I'll never forget, even now, like I've gone through it, and even now it's like, Alana, it's making sense. I know what she's saying. So maybe, that's why Alana's not here to get clients. She's probably stuffed with them, but that's why I really think personally you need the app, and you just need someone basically to take your hand and say and just ask the questions that bring up the stuff. So like this is like my second round, and every meeting we've had it's been like major, like, oh, didn't think of that, or oh, for me it was like a high. That is so freaking right.
What I love, and I feel like it's finding me more and more and more as I journey, and I get this desire to do it more and more and more, which is obviously there. It's in me to guide me, to be a compass. And so I'm digging into this. What does God really want me to do? I feel there's this, I love simplifying things.
Yeah.
I think there's just because we can do hard things doesn't mean everything we do needs to be hard.
Oh wow.
And I love simplifying things. And
Yeah.
so that is something that I feel is really that I enjoy, is taking the science, one, linking it with scripture, and then simplifying it in a way that it makes sense. Because I remember, well, I was signed up to go, and I was on the plane, and I was like, I just need to read this book. She's probably going to ask us questions regarding all the science. I did not understand a word.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
And now I know it.
Yeah.
But it in a simplified way.
Wow.
I can't speak Dr. Leaf.
No.
There's no one that can speak Dr. Leaf
Or
like
as fast as she can speak.
yes. But I love that I understand what she's
That's
saying
so
now,
good.
but I can simplify it. Not just because I had to first simplify it for
I
myself.
appreciate that personally because, like I said, I couldn't understand it, and then you simplify it. One more subject before we get you out the door. Love and leave you. I would like to touch on this because you're going through this neurocycle process, and I think I have a lot of women entrepreneurs who listen. A lot of women that really want to find their voice in their business, and um, obviously you may not have evidence of what you want, so you go into the gratefulness and the thankfulness mode. But can you shared a little bit, you actually shared a lot at the last session, and it was so good, and it had to do, please share again the fuel that drives the mission. Like you really want to go for it. And I can tell y'all, I'm honest, this once we went through that, I felt like a leaf came off of me. All of a sudden I'm here doing the things I need to do, message here. Oh, hey, let me help you here. I mean, I never had that kind of activity. Who knows? I might have been just caked in the trauma. But you said sometimes resistance is a sign of you're
You
going
tell
in
us.
the right direction.
Let's see if that you're going in the right direction.
And then talk about the mission, where that deep down you go towards the mission and the money takes care of itself. You said it
Yes.
better.
I remember when I started off in my entrepreneurial journey. I
Okay.
was like, I just gotta make it for free. I'm just gonna give it away. I just want to give it
No,
away,
no.
everything. And at one stage, my husband asked me, "Are you running a nonprofit or are you running a business?"
Oh, right to the point. Let me
The
take
problem was
that
not.
arrow out, honey.
I wanted to offer everything for free because I believed that what I have to offer was not valuable.
Oh,
And no
wow.
one will buy from me. And that's why, if we want to change anything in our business, we have to address our minds. Our mind drives our brain. I
Thank
have to
you.
say that as well. We have to address the belief behind it. We have to address our thinking regarding it to see the change that we desire. Any feeling or accomplishment we aspiring to, that missing piece is our mind.
Wow.
So
That's powerful.
what happens is that I had to first get out of other people's wallets. I'm going to say that again.
Say
Get
that again.
out of other people's wallets.
Oh, come on. Okay, just a sec. Let me unpin myself. Okay, you can go on. I've heard that lecture, guys.
I was like, no, they can't afford it. No, they, if I ask this, then I won't be able to afford it. And I was just so worried about other people's money that it was keeping me from making decisions that was honoring the value that I have to offer.
Wow.
And so we let the mission of your fuel.
That's it.
Let the mission of serving others. I have this saying in my office, it's not about you. That is my driving, my fuel, that knowing that even when I feel like not showing up, it's not about me. Because someone needs me. Someone out there feels the way I felt 6 years ago.
That's right.
And so it's not about me. And I will continue to run in obedience with the light. The light is the ceiling on our dreams. With the light in my heart, serving daily, even if one person shows up. It's if I can reach one person today.
That's beautiful.
That's enough.
You know, it's not about me. I believe that wholeheartedly for many years. But I heard something recently by this really godly coach. I see him on TikTok, and he about pulls me over every time. But he said something. Okay, it's not about me, but as you walk in that healing, as you walk in you, okay, and all you're really thinking about is serving people. He said, in my experience, I've learned that people don't sign up with me because of my product or my service. They sign up because of me. Meaning, when he says me, he means the healthy, whole me.
Yes.
It means authenticity. It means, yeah, if I got to get some healing because I've got some jacked up stuff, I'm going to get healing. And what that does, it takes the pressure off thinking, oh, I got something, they got to have it. No, you just show up in your authenticity and know it's not about you. And what that does, it for me personally, I'm speaking from personal interest, it really does flip to what can I do to help them? I've been there, or they need finances. So can I get excited, not about the company, but excited about that I understand them? And hey, do you trust me? And then I want to speak in my own language. I don't want to speak in the company's language. I don't want to speak in my coach's language. I want to speak in my language, meaning my tone, my style.
Yes.
So it frees you up. I hope someone's catching that no, okay, well, wait, Theresa, you're saying it's not about me. Yeah, when I say that, it frees the authentic me, not the one who's like, listen, guys, if you got a credit card to pay off and you're trying to sell something, they can smell it down the street. That's what you got to just say, hey, it's not about me. It's not about my credit card, but the mission I have is about you. Because I want to see you whole. I want to see you going in your God-given design. And I want to see you get on that millionaire momentum because it is about you. Did I flip that around? Because
The outcome, I think the obedience is our responsibility. The outcome is
Thank you.
God's. So the people, I think when it's, I love that you said that, because when we say it's not about me, I think there's also a part of us that is not honoring to self, but it is that thing that when you make it about you, you are so worried about how you look.
Sure. And
how you,
something that might be under your eyes.
and your circles under your eyes.
Yeah.
And it's you're so worried about yourself that you are not yourself.
And they can spot that in a mile a minute.
And so it is, when we say it's not about you, I think we speak into what we have to offer.
Wow, that's so good.
Because what we're serving others with is the water. And that is not about you.
Because they might not be thirsty.
They might not be thirsty. And I also want to leave them with this. The way you perceive what you have to offer is super, super important. Because a lot of the times we are fearful of rejection. Say, for instance, you come to visit me. And this is regarding your offer, right? You know this can quench someone's whatever desire or what they need in their life. It can help them. I know that Neurocycle can help you to take back control of your thoughts and your life. I know I have it. It's water. So when you see it as you offering water to someone else, and that is not about you. That's when we say it's not about you.
That's good.
This is helpful. It's not, the arrow is outwards facing and not inward.
Yeah.
And so when you come over for a visit and I'm like, T, do you want some water? And you're like, no, thank you. I'm good. I don't see it as you are actually rejecting me.
Right.
You are rejecting the water.
Right.
You might have had a Starbucks coffee and a
Most
water
definitely
on your way to my house. And so it's not that fear of rejection. When we view it from a different perspective, we can, I love celebrating anyone that's able to make a decision. That's freedom.
Yeah.
And secondly, it's not about me.
Right.
It's not a rejection of me. So I think it's super important that when we serve, that when whatever we put out there, not making it your identity, not putting your all in there, because then often we feel rejected when we receive a no. I celebrate every no.
Yeah. But you did offer it. You had you still have to go through, I have something to offer. So you can't be all tied up into what people think. So you offered it. They weren't thirsty. It's not about me. I didn't know we went this long. I'm we are like way into the hour mark. No way. Golly, thank you, Elana. You gave us so much value. We'll have to do a part 2, sister. I'm sorry.
We'll do that.
And I appreciate that you ended on that, because that was what I heard from you a year ago. Jessica Shakur's, you shared that analogy, and I was like, wow, that's it. And besides everything, you shared a lot, and I was just like, who is this person? Let's start following her on Instagram. And now I'm blessed. She has been a reason for my healing. So if there's any testimony. So Elana, what's the best place people to get a hold of you? Probably Instagram?
They can find me on Instagram, or they can find me on my website. I'm pretty good with Instagram. Please don't DM me on Facebook.
Yeah, she won't see it.
Go on Instagram.
And it's Elana V Deventer on Instagram. So just so you know, you got to put it's not Van. She marks out that Van. And I think I put it in I put it in the show notes too. So, perfect. And she has a great website. Finally, ElanaVanDeventer.com. Finally,
I think that's another subject for another day. I think we so focus on the business cards and the websites.
We need to have
the negative emotion of putting ourselves out there. It's a self-regulation problem.
We need to have a business one, because so many women could just really benefit. I'm sure they did at the end. mental. It's not just tell us about our mental live that we do weekly.
Yeah, so once a week, T and I do a mental live, and we call it not just another IG live, because we get wild and free because that's who we are and authentically ourselves.
We
And
get kind of silly. We get our dogs and once my cat and we have so much fun. I'm serious. We have
so
fun,
much.
but there's still amazing value. I just host it and try not to make Elana laugh.
Yeah, so there's some key nuggets, some golden nuggets in it, but while we're having fun, we
So
share.
be sure to follow Elana if you're not following her, because she's real good about letting you know. And then you always can go to her wall and watch some of our past ones. I did that the other day. I was looking for something, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember that. And I sat there and just listened to it. It's just like, oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
I think we will, yeah, there's gonna be a good one, a good theme for how to start your day before you do anything.
Ooh.
Because if you want a morning routine that is needed for any other activity, morning routine that you've seen out there, this is the one step that you have to take before you do.
I can't wait to hear that one.
We'll do that.
That keeps me curious. All right, Elana, I am so appreciative of you. And if you're listening live or recorded on our podcast, we appreciate you. Hey, share this podcast. Share this episode with someone. This could be really the breakthrough of someone. Maybe you know someone who's down in the pits and they're just one reach from a gun. Or maybe you know someone who's struggling so much that please, we're not trying to get a pat on the back. We're trying to get this kind of help to as many people as we can. So review, you can rate this podcast.com/Theresa Croft. All of that draws the ratings so people can find people like Elana. So dear, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And thank you for listening to Unleashing Kingdom Voices.
Thank you.